question here is, how are you managing life as a single missionary? The thing that I feel like from the very beginning is that God very clearly directed me to say, hey, I could use you in tribal evangelism, and if you're willing to be obedient, am I big enough to do this through your life? And the answer was yes, you are big enough to use me in whatever way that you can for your glory. And so that is the basic premise, I think, or main understanding that I have, in the sense of this is the way God can be most glorified through my life, and my singleness doesn't define who I am. And if He's big enough to sustain me, it really doesn't matter in my marital status. The complications for me have been more in the fact that in the location where I work, as a single woman, it's a security issue. So I've had to depend on, I need coworkers, I need married couples, I need men to be in there, and that's my safeguard, not from our own people, the people that we're working with, not from that language group, but from those that I don't know in the area. And so in that sense, as a single missionary, I don't necessarily think of myself in terms of my marital status. I think of myself in terms of, I have perhaps more time, to be involved in translation and discipleship and working with the ladies and working with children or whatever. But I'm not thinking of it in terms of, well, I couldn't do that if I were married, or I can only do this because I'm single, or I'd do it in a different way if I were married. Well, my singleness has all to do with what God is using in my life to conform me to His image, and He has allowed me to do some things I couldn't do, perhaps, if I were married, but He would have a different role and a different way to glorify Himself through my life if I were married. So that doesn't factor in how I am as a missionary. The only, I feel like, complication is not being able to be in there on my own for security reasons. But even in that, it's not like, well, I'll give up and go home because I can't be in there as a single woman. Well, is there another thing that God can be doing through my life until I had coworkers again? And that's what He's done. He's given me other responsibilities and other ways to serve Him that have nothing to do with a marital status. So the only way I know how to answer that really is that this is the way that He can most effectively use me, and when that changes, so will my marital status. But in the meantime, it's not hindering me from serving Him, and I don't believe it should. Like, He can use that too, and being able to encourage other single women, even single men that are considering missions, and that, you know what, God's big enough for that too, and He can use you either way. And in some ways I can contribute more to the team because I'm not married with children, and yet He would find another way to use me if that were the case too. So